Okay, in a previous video, I showed you how you're going to go ahead and display the videos to the screen for a particular user. And now I want to show you how you can display the analysis results that you've received back from Swingbot Pro in the browser as well. So if we go ahead and take a look at what's going to actually happen first, and then we'll go ahead and show you the code. So if I look at these videos that I have here, you'll see these codes underneath the images, and those codes, I'll show you where I got these codes from. Um, it's an attribute in the video that gets passed back in the result set. So this is the code for the display video sample that I have in the documentation. And I just changed email address to credit code. And I created a little link here that's going to send the user to the sample getanalysis.html page. And I'm just passing that code in the URL as a query string parameter. So if we look back here and I click on this code, you'll see my code is in the query string right here under the ID parameter, and you'll see I display the code at the top. I'm also displaying the name of the lesson target that is being shown here, and if the user has passed that lesson target, so if they actually got this correct. I'm also showing the image with lines data that comes back in the result set on the elite plan. So if I scroll through here, you'll see all of these images with lines drawn on them, and those are the lines that you create for each lesson target in your lesson program to help the user understand, what's really going on with their golf swing. So as you can see here, I've got a ton of images, a ton of targets that we've processed. So let's go ahead and dig into the code a little bit and see what that looks like. Okay, so at the top, again, very, very simple. I have some basic styles set up for my containers. So here's the body of the document. It's just a couple of divs. I have tempo. I could use tempo. I didn't for this, but maybe we go ahead and add that in a second. So I'm going to create larger images here really quickly, and just to see what that might look like or what that might do. And I actually think I did it here. So I'm going to have to change it to here. And this, I don't even think we're using anymore. So we've got 3 containers: credit code, tempo, and analysis. And we're going to go ahead and populate those containers based on the results. So step 1, as always, we're going to pull in the Swingbot Pro SDK via the CDN for these tutorials for regular plain old HTML pages. And you can also use Node if you're using like a React app or anything like that. We do have that available. You can just yarn or npm the Swingbot Pro SDK. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we're using the CDN. So I've created a script here, and I'm passing in my API key, and I'm also passing in, or I'm actually going to initialize this client first and foremost. Then I'm going to go ahead and fetch the parameters from the URL, and that's our credit ID, or the video analysis ID. And then we're going to call the getAnalysisById method of the SDK client and pass in that ID. And you're going to get a lot of results back to the screen. And let's take a look at what those look like. So if I refresh the page here and we go ahead and look in the console, you'll see I have my data parameter as always. Well, let's dig into there. And then you're going to see a lot of data that you can use on this screen here. So I've got all of the analysis results, the camera angle that was detected, and in each of these results, you'll see I've got the definition, the image with lines, if they pass or fail, the probability, the resulting code, the summary that you've created in the target, in the lesson targets, and for all of these different items here. You'll also see I have every single piece of information because I have the elite plan. I have everything that was detected. So all of the positions, or the probability of the detection, under every single position of the golf swing. So not only do I have all the body points, I have all of the body points per position. And I also have the images for each of the positions. So if I wanted to display the frames of each position, address through finish, I can go ahead and do that as well. And I also have tempo, and these are the frames in terms of like the count for the time that have been detected. And we also generate the ratio for you based on these frames. So essentially the tempo is, how many frames to the top of the backswing and then how many frames to the bottom, and we generate that ratio for you. And then obviously we have the username and any video information here. So we have the thumbnail and the URL of the actual video. So knowing that, let's take a look. And as again, I increase the image size here. And you can make this look however you'd like. You can put these in a grid. You can put these one above the other. It's up to you, and you can include the summaries and any of that information that comes back from the analysis. So let's look at the code. So this is where I console the results to the screen. So again, we're calling the get analysis by ID method of the SDK. We have the results. I'm setting the results to just a variable here to make it a little easier, because we have the data attribute and then another data attribute in the response payload. So just to make it easier, I'm calling it analysis results. I'm going to pull the ID out of the results, and then I'm also going to grab the actual analysis results themselves, which have all of our targets in there that I'm going to loop through. So I'm going to go ahead and here's my analysis div from the top here. If we look, this is the div container that I'm going to place all of the items into. And I'm just using really, really straightforward basic JavaScript to do this. I'm just doing a loop on these results. I'm going to create a new div that I'm going to put all of this information into. And so here's the name of my target. It's result.targetName. So I'm going to add this to my div. And then I'm going to create the image. And I have a width of 400, and the source is going to be the image with lines. And then I believe we have a summary. So I'll show you how I add summary. We'll call it summary div equals. We're going to create a new element here. We're just going to create a p tag, and we're going to say summary div.innerHTML equals result.summary, and then we'll say new div dot append child summary div. Okay. Now hopefully that works. Okay, look at this. All right, so we've added it. Stance at address, it's true, and we have our paragraph element here, and it says your stance is all set. Your feet are roughly shoulder width apart. Great job. Your shoulder is lower than your front shoulder. So this is everything that I've specified in the actual lesson itself. And if we go back into here and we look, I mean, this is the same lesson, and it's just this is how I formatted it for the dashboard, but all this information you have. So you'll see here your stance is all set. Your feet are roughly shoulder width apart. That's exactly what we have here, right? So the results are the same. And those results are what I have in my lesson. So if I go back into my lesson itself, wait for this to load, and I go under advanced swing analysis, you'll see all of the lesson targets that come up. So if we go down to the stance at address, and we look at our passing condition, so let's go to our passing condition. Here's what we're analyzing. And there it is. There's my summary. So this is where you can adjust your summary if you wanted to change anything. Same for the failing condition, passing condition. This is how it works from the target perspective. So that's how you can place the results on your screen. Very simply, I'm going to add this code to the documentation that I have on Swingbot Pro, so you can always dig into that documentation itself. So displaying a golfer's videos, it's located right here, shows you how to install the SDK, get the list of videos, and then display the video samples. And I've also, I'm going to create a video here. I'm going to update this video, in fact, and here's the code itself. So if you have any questions, as always, check the documentation, send us an email. We'd love to get your feedback, and on to the next tutorial.